This is FBG Jen.
And FBG Kristen.
And I'm FBG Margot, host and producer. You're listening to the podcast that will help you keep a lid on the junk in the trunk and inspire you to live a happy and confident life.
Each episode, we chat with motivational experts and celebs and share our own candid adventures in being healthy.
If you're looking for a podcast that's equal parts hilarious and enlightening, well then welcome to the Fit Bottomed Girls podcast.
Inspire yourself, inspire others, and smell great naturally with Inspire Bath deodorant sprays and lotions. We use them, we love them, and we think you will too. So just go to inspirebath.com. Welcome back to the Fit Bottomed Girls podcast. This is FBG Margot, and on the line today, we have FBG Jen.
Hey.
And we have FBG Kristen.
Yo.
And Kristen, you and I did this interview together today. It's with Bev Sanders, and we're going to be talking about surfing and surfing vacations and retreats and things like that. And you have a lot of experience with traveling. You're a big traveling person and also fitness-based vacations and trips. So can you talk a little bit about that?
I totally can. Yeah, I am a travel kind of person. And I've had some cool opportunities to do a number of trips that were like, you might call them like racecations, where it's, like I'm going to a location because I'm going to do a race there, but then it, you build the trip around that, which is kind of cool. And I think it's interesting because people tend to come into that with, there are very different approaches. There are the people who are like, I'm doing this race. That is the number one priority. That's the thing that I'm doing. And then I'll try to get some sightseeing in around there. And then I think the bulk of people most of the time kind of look at it more as, okay, so this race gives me an excuse to go somewhere super cool and I'll do the race and it's going to be great. And that gives me some motivation to train and, and all of that. But like, I'm really going because I've always wanted to go to, like wine country in Oregon or whatever. And I have one as we're recording, but when you guys hear this right now, all y'all are in the future. I'm actually going to the Caribbean for a half marathon in about a week. So by the time this airs, I will have some more of that under my belt, but it's really fun because especially when it's just something like a run, if you show up with your shoes and a sports bra, then you're pretty much good to go. And it gives you this really cool experience, not to mention the fact that running a decent distance around a city or around an island gives you a different perspective for the place than driving around would. But that being said, I'm also going to give a shout out to the idea of all of the different biking options that are out there. Like so many cities. When I was in Portland a couple of years ago, they had like the city bikes where you can rent them in one spot and ride them to another and then just drop them off. And Salt Lake City, I was there with Susan Lakey, and we did that, just not even necessarily doing touristy stuff, but just to get around. And it was awesome. Margot, have you done that?
The city bikes.
It's scary to ride in the city.
It's super scary to ride in the city, and we've had this program, I'd say about 3 years now. It's City Bikes, and you can pay for a membership, or you can do it just one at a time. And every once in a while, I see more and more people on bikes than ever, which I think is exciting. And I love being on a bike. I'm the cyclist in the group. I have something to say though to the parents out there. I'm seeing this over and over again. I'm seeing kids with their helmets and their parents without helmets, and it makes me crazy. Please wear your helmets outside, guys. It's way, way important, especially when you're in a big city like New York. Where it's just concrete everywhere.
Yes, it's concrete, and it's a very decent likelihood of you getting, not necessarily like hit, but getting bumped or getting thrown, thrown off balance because, that's important.
That's our Fit Bottom PSA for the day.
Yes,
wear your
please, yes.
And if anyone wants to get our travel posts, like if you're like, oh, I want to hear about Kristen's travel adventures, I bet you're probably going to write something about it, Kristen. So if we can pop the link in to all of our travel posts and all of our travel content in the notes.
That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. And then also if you guys don't follow us on Instagram, we tend to, when we go and do cool stuff like that, or every once in a while when we've got a special correspondent, we will kind of share what's going on in real time on our Insta story. So check that out. And then the other thing that I want to say about bikes is, you know, even if you're someone who doesn't really get into like, you call them excursions when you do them off of a cruise, but, you know, like into like touristy tour type things, don't be shy about looking into like a bike tour somewhere, even if you're not super comfortable necessarily just renting a bike and riding around yourself. It can feel a lot safer to go in a group. They're often, they're often designed to be accessible for people at like lots of different levels of fitness and comfort on a bike. And it really is a great way to see things. I actually have a tour booked for, I'm going to go to Volcanoes National Park in a few weeks. And I've never been there before. And I read that seeing it by bike is a great way to do it. So I'm like super excited about it. And I am sure that it's going to be touristy. And I don't care even a little bit, because I want to make sure that I have the experience and that I'm going to the places that I want to go to, you know?
Well, that sounds fun. And it's hard for, I think, a national park to be overly touristy.
Yeah. And I mean, it's still going to be like 10 or 15 miles of riding, even if it's like easy.
Through volcanoes.
Through volcanoes. Not
That's
through
cool.
the lava, though.
Obviously.
Smart.
Yeah. And with a helmet.
Totally with a helmet.
Definitely
with a helmet.
And let's talk about just a little bit, because throughout the year, you guys have these retreats. So how do people join a mailing list so they can find out all the information, so maybe they can sign up for one of these kind of cool trips for themselves?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, usually there's a pop-up that comes up. If not, we have a free email course. It's actually take the free 5-day FBG reset email course that you can sign up for, but that will get you on our mailing list and get you the free email course. And so that anytime we have new stuff that's happening, like we're doing a retreat or something travel-y or fun that you can join in, that is usually the first place that we announce it, and the first place for you to possibly get some early bird savings. So come get the scoop, join our list.
So today our guest is with Bev Sanders, and she has a very popular surfing retreat in Mexico. So if you guys are interested, you're going to love this interview. If you're scared, if you're like, oh, I'm going to be by myself, will I make friends? What's it going to be like? She's going to cool your jets. Listen to this interview. She's going to give you so much inspiration. You're going to want to go out there and get on a longboard and check out a wave right away. So here's our interview with her. And please, guys, follow us on social media at Fit Bottom Girls. Our email is podcast@fitbottomgirls.com. So if you have any comments or suggestions, and please, if you get the show via Apple Podcasts, if you can leave us a 5-star review, we will read it on the air and be so grateful. So let's get into the interview today. Remember, this show is sponsored by our fave all-natural deodorant line, Inspire Bath. In fact, for every bottle you purchase, they donate one to help build and empower women and girls at shelters and interim homes. Get yours and help give back at inspirebath.com. Bev Sanders has made a long-standing career of empowering women. She founded the first women's surf retreat, Las Olas, in 1997. Their motto, "We make girls out of women," describes her heartfelt belief in women making time to play. She founded Las Olas the same year she learned to surf at 44, saying the lighthearted experience of learning to play in the water inspired her to quit her job as the marketing director of a well-established snowboard company, which she co-founded, and headed to Mexico to host her first camp. 22 years later, she still leads every retreat in Mexico. Bev believes that women are instinctive caretakers in a world that could use our perspective and help, and that's why she passionately continues her mission of making girls out of women. So welcome to the show, Bev.
Hello. Well, it's good to be here.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here today. This is FBG Margot, and on the line today, we have FBG Kristen.
Hello.
So I'm going to ask you the first question. I mean, how about we start with Las Olas, and what was your motivation for creating it?
Well, my motivation was rooted in three different things. Frustration. I was frustrated in being in a male-dominated business. I had feminism. I had very much a passion for empowering women. I took a feminist studies class back in the 70s, and it was very uplifting for me. And then I wanted to have fun. So those are all F words, but that's kind of where it went. I mean, honestly, I was in this business where I was a co-founder of a snowboard company. And I always noticed along the way, even though I had done it over a decade, I noticed that women weren't recognized in the sport at all. They were never sponsored. They were never featured in magazines. And the equipment for them was too big. It was made for men. So here I was in that business. And I found myself oftentimes sitting in a board meeting with tears in my eyes. So I thought, this isn't who I am. And then being part of that, I was, very much trying my best to produce women's equipment, which we did do. But at the same time, my reps didn't even want to carry the product because it made us look too girly. So that was interesting to me because on some level, I knew they were right from a marketing perspective because the core market was an 18-year-old male. And we didn't want to look too girly now. So that was part of it. And the year I was 44 when I learned to surf, and I was still working in that business. And I took a vacation, and it was to Maui, and it was before the internet. So I was looking in the yellow pages for something to do. And I saw an ad that said, if a dog can surf, you can too. And I thought, yes, sign me up. So I went to take a lesson. And like I said, I was 44 and it completely changed my life. So it was that very year the light bulb went on and I thought, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make girls out of women. And I started my first surf camp.
That's awesome. And I love that. That happened in Maui. I think it's one of my favorite places and I find it to be just kind of magical. And it sounds like you definitely had a really magical experience because that totally changed your life. And from there, you're changing a lot of other lives. And that leads me to ask, what kind of women do you attract at Las Olas? Are they already surfers? Are they showing up and yes, this is what we do. Let's surf all day. Or are they coming in just curious and wanting a change and, kind of going with your mentality? If a dog can do it, so can I.
Well, there's a lot of different women that come to Las Olas. She could be a really funny fifth grade teacher from Atlanta, a whip smart rocket scientist, and hardworking mothers, a pediatrician. They come from all walks of life, and they have certain ways they see surfing. Some of them want to catch a wave and ride into the beach and have a margarita. Others want to surf all day. Like you said, they're there to surf. But in any case, I think they all have something in common. They need a break, and they're ready to honor themselves and make a change and have fun. So the serendipity in the groups is amazing. For example, a woman that might be going through a bad breakup may find her roommate dealing with the same. It's really amazing. I don't know how it happens, but it does. And they're there to support each other, and that's where the magic happens.
I have a friend, a very good friend, who just learned to surf this past summer. She lives at the Jersey Shore now, and she used to be a super type A New York City, executive lady. So I was just wondering, are there reasons why you see, and I've heard this from other women that I know that have big jobs in New York, and they love to go to surf camps on their breaks. Do you see any reasons why high achieving women like that would take on surfing?
Yeah, I do. I think, and I was that woman myself. I so relate to that, but it's the ultimate form of stress release. And when I say, our motto, we make girls out of women, is absolutely true. I see so often these women show up and they work on the 44th floor in New York City and they are just wound so tight. And within 24 hours, they're acting like kids. And it's really beautiful to see that. I think surfing is what it takes. That tumbling around in the water and letting go and feeling like a kid again is really what a lot of people need because, we are all a certain way before the world got a hold of us. And surfing is something that really can break that down because honestly, when you're surfing, that's the only thing you're really thinking about.
So what are some of the common questions that you get from guests, either maybe before they sign up, when they're still trying to decide whether or not this is for them, And then also once they arrive and they're kind of getting into this and maybe it's new and exciting and a little strange?
Probably our biggest, most popular question is, am I too old to surf? Which always makes me laugh because it's not. Most of our guests are over 40. And like I said, I started surfing at 44, and that was 2 decades ago. You know, I'm 65 now, so I'd be the wrong person to ask. But, you know, honestly, and a lot of people wonder if they're in good shape, because I think there's been a myth about surfing where people think they have to have a lot of upper body strength. And women, they say they don't have enough upper body strength, but that's not true. Women are stronger than they're given credit for. If you've ever seen a woman pick up a toddler, you know what I mean? It's, you know, they do have upper body strength. It's all relative. We surf in small waves, so you really aren't paddling through rough waters necessarily. But honestly, and this sounds very simplistic, but if you can get up off the floor without a struggle, you can probably surf. So, I mean, I think, you know, a lot of people are afraid of surfing because they think it's male dominated and it's territorial, but not. And most probably women who are listening to this podcast, I would sense that they're probably in good shape, or at least trying to be in shape, which is really half the battle.
So what would be your biggest lesson you would give to a budding entrepreneur, someone who has their own dream, you know, to quit that day job and pursue their passion? What advice would you give them?
Well, entrepreneurship, it's you have to be ready for a wild ride, and you have to really be in touch with who you are, and you have to be very true to yourself. And I think that is probably the advice that I would give somebody. There's a lot of deep breaths involved. There is, I think, particularly for women, you know, not everybody's going to be happy at one time. And I think any mother would know that. But it's difficult. So you have to be ready for just about anything. But the joy that comes with it is amazing. And the freedom in getting up on a Monday morning and really be excited about what you're doing is important. But that said, it's also important to pick the right thing. In other words, don't just decide you're going to be a business coach because you think you're going to be able to make money being a business coach. I think it's important that it is absolutely your passion, because that's what will fuel you.
So in reading about Las Olas and talking to you, it sounds like this is more than just kind of like a girl's getaway, you know, like going away to a hotel for a weekend. Like, you see some really significant transformations. So I wonder if you talked about them making girls out of women, but I wonder if there are any specific stories or common themes that you really see, you know, that not only that people make these changes while they're there, but, you know, maybe do people stay in touch with you and let you know how this changes them once they go back to their office on the 44th floor?
Well, yeah, that's actually, to me, the best part of it. Like I said, if I've been doing it for 22 years, then I'm there at every session. And I've seen investment bankers quit their jobs to become well-known writers. Things like that happen. And next thing you know, I'm following them on social media and thinking, oh my God, this woman has just absolutely blossomed. I do see a lot of changes take place. I see people, you know, they come to Las Olas and they're in some situation that just isn't really making sense for them. And I think it's taking that wave. And I don't mean to sound simplistic, but honestly, when I was 44 and I first learned to surf, I completely changed my life. That next year, I had a different job, and you know, I don't know who that girl was who decided she was going to go to Mexico without knowing a word of Spanish and not really being a surfer and start a surf camp. But I did that, and I see people take these leaps of faith after learning how to surf at Las Olas, and I'm really proud of them for doing that, because I know things like, you know, confidence. Like, it's something that it takes a lot of courage to do something like that.
Well, besides Las Olas, where are your ever favorite places to go surfing?
Well, a surfer doesn't always reveal their surf spots.
I was wondering if you're going to say that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, there's a few places in Northern California that I like, north of San Francisco, and I would say La Jolla's was kind of fun. But, a lot of places you have to really be picky in terms of when you go. Because if you're going to go on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, it's going to be a struggle because it's usually crowded at a lot of places nowadays. So we actually run our surf sessions during weeks when there's no holiday or, no spring break or anything like that. I've always been really adamant about making sure that we run it during those low season weeks and Mondays through Fridays when we take our lessons. So it works out much better for a beginner because there's one thing, you've got all that's going on with trying to take a wave and getting the confidence to do that, but also to look to the left and right and see somebody else trying to get the same wave. It's just no fun. So to answer your question, yeah, I honestly love the surf break where we are in Mexico because to me, it's the most beginner friendly. It has this very forgiving wave and I love small waves. I don't really want to be out there and feel frightened. I want to feel comfortable. So I think this particular wave where we surf is probably the best for that.
Are there any other activities that you can think of that provide the same kind of feeling of some of the same benefits of surfing? Like I know you come from a snowboarding background. So do you find those things to be comparable? Or because I'm thinking of people, I've got a few friends, even though I live in Sarasota, Florida, near the beach, I have a couple of friends who are really uncomfortable in the water. So I'm thinking of them and I'm like, there's no way I could ever get them on a surfboard, but they're athletic and adventurous. And so the things you're talking about definitely apply to them.
Yeah, snowboarding, I would say, is that sport, especially snowboarding in powder. You get that freedom. I absolutely love to snowboard. I still snowboard. I don't snowboard that much because I spend so much of my winter in Mexico, but I love snowboarding and skiing. I grew up skiing as a kid, and there's a certain freedom to it. And I call them board sports. Surfing, snowboarding, and skiing are board sports in a sense. And what I love about them is that they're absolutely, I'm not saying I'm not a team player, but it's so much fun to just be by yourself, carving turns in deep powder or on a wave. It's a real, like a personal creative expression that happens with it. And I'm trying to think of another sport. I love dance. I wouldn't consider it a sport, but I think dance is another creative outlet that way as well.
Yeah, it seems like anything that you can sort of get lost in and feel, and you have something to focus on that takes you a little bit outside yourself, but requires real physical connection to it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
So when you are in session, when you are booking people, what is your average day like during that week or week and a half that you have people?
Well, we start every morning with yoga and meditation. And it's kind of a lighthearted sensibility to what we do. And we always stay, like I say, keep going back to that motto, we make girls out of women. We try to stay in that mindset when we present any part of our program. But we start with yoga and we have breakfast right after that. And that happens right on the water's edge, which is absolutely beautiful. And you get to, you're looking at the surf break as you're eating. After that, for example, like on the first day, we'll have an orientation. We have a little private clubhouse where everybody goes and they actually take their first lesson right there, essentially, getting the basics in terms of wave etiquette and things like that. Things you need to know about surfing before you get out in the water and start making mistakes. After that, we get people into the water, teach them paddling, teach them maneuvers, teach them hurdle rolls and how to avoid big waves and like that. Then they surf in the morning. Then we break for lunch. After lunch, we surf some more. It really becomes, honestly, when people catch their first wave, that's all they want to do. They're like a dog with a tennis ball. I want another wave. And then after the afternoon, we take another break and there's another yoga class. If people want to go to the yoga class, there's massage that happens during the day. We schedule it full. In the evening, we have little workshops. The first night we have called It's Your Wave. And It's Your Wave is it's a class that we started doing about maybe 4 years ago. I realized the barrier to entry for a lot of women wasn't their physical upper body strength or, things like that. It's more the mental part of it. So I look at it like this. There's two things you're going to say to yourself when you paddle to catch a wave. One is, I'm going to catch this wave, or two, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. So this class, it's a workshop that addresses that mindset, trying to get people to get into a more positive mindset, whether it's, sing your favorite song like I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor or whatever it may be, to get them into yes, I can do this. I've got this. And so we have that particular class. And then we have other workshops about, surfboard equipment and things like that. Because a lot of women, by the time they end up this, week is over, they want to buy a surfboard. They're really that gung ho about it. And some of them don't. Some of them go back and they never surf again, maybe. But for the most part, people are pretty enthusiastic and see themselves as surfers, which is really cool.
It is. And okay, Bev, I've got like a personal question here for you, because I have tried surfing a couple of times and I love being out on the water. Like I think the whole sitting out there, like timing the waves, just really feeling that is amazing. And I am not good at it. And so I'm wondering, do you ever have people who come out and they're psyched and they're into it and they just never quite get it? Or is everybody pretty much able to do it with enough practice and with the right guidance?
It's funny you say that, because that sounds like me. I get out there all the time and say, I'm not good at this.
And it's frustrating, because I'm like, I should be great, and I am not.
That's part of being a surfer. It is. That's what's so funny about it. It's that it is that kind of sport. You go out and you just say, oh, I'm not very good at it. But then you get that one wave, just one wave. And it's like crack. You want to get another one. So here's one thing I've noticed. That is, a lot of times women who are accomplished, those that are type A and really excel at everything they do in life, they have a harder time sometimes than those who just think, I'm going to go catch a wave and go read a book. And they don't have investment in it, and they're just going to have fun, and they seem to have an easier time with it and less struggle. So my advice is just keep doing it, and do it from a sense of, I'm going to go have fun. Think of it like you're just going to go out and float on a toy, and take a wave when you feel ready to do it. And the rest of the time, just really enjoy just being out there on the water. It's a pretty amazing place to be, I think, whether you catch a wave or not. And I can tell you this in all honesty, I go out sometimes and I might catch one wave, but in the rest of them, I fail at, but I still have a good time. I've learned that over the years, though. It took me a while to get there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good lesson.
Yeah. Don't be hard on yourself.
I think something that might hold me back a little bit is the fact that I'm really nearsighted. And so I have to wear contacts, or I have to wear glasses, in the water, the sunglasses. Do you ever have anybody with those kind of issues?
Yeah, actually, a lot of people wear contacts. I wear contacts myself.
Okay.
And I don't, honestly, as long as you close your eyes when you fall, and most of us kind of, you're conditioned to, after a while, to know that if you wear contacts. But I honestly don't have much in the way of problems. I've only lost 2 contact lenses in as long as I've been surfing. That's not very many.
No, those are good odds.
No, yeah. But yeah, a lot of people ask us about that. I don't recommend. I mean, if you can wear contacts, that's way better than, trying to see without them.
You don't want to see me without contacts, trust me.
No, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so if somebody is listening to this and they love the idea of going, somewhere like Las Olas, and they just dig this whole concept, but maybe, due to finances or, just like can't really leave the family for more than a couple of days. They can't quite swing that right now. Do you have any tips for things that they could do kind of like on a smaller basis or a shorter basis? Things maybe they could do at home or other little ways that they can implement this whole mindset of the making girls out of women into their life?
Well, are you talking about other like classes and things? There's a lot of like, podcasts like yours is great for someone who wants to have a personal getaway, so to speak, without really going anywhere. Or I see now there's so many online experiences for women that are just amazing, that get them into a mindset of more confidence. And especially now, I think, goodness, women have been gone. It's been a roller coaster in the last year and a half or so for women. And I think, I think that's really important. And just to get together with friends, like I said, with Las Olas, the magic happens when you have a group of women who support each other. So anytime you can get together with a group of close friends or whatever, I think that's really important. It's not to be underestimated that, women supporting each other is really what will make us all rise.
So there's been, this is just pop culture wise, there's been so many movies in the past few years, a few decades really, about surfing, especially since it started gaining in popularity in the 60s. Are they ever accurate at all? I mean, do they capture the magic at all, or is it just like 1/10 of like what you can get from surfing?
Well, surfing is your own magic in terms of, what it is for you. And it's hard to say that a movie would capture that for an individual. But there's been some, Blue Crush was a cool. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. You just felt her, you honestly felt the sensation as she was rising and falling in the surf there, and how nervous she was and how wound up she was. And that, I thought they did a really good job of capturing that spirit and that fear or whatever. And there's been a lot of little indie films, that are out now about women and surfing. One of my favorite surf movies is Surfing for Life. And it's a movie about older people surfing, like people well into their 80s surfing. And it's amazing. It's really amazing because it shows how surfing keeps people young. And, I believe that with all my heart, is that, it's funny how when you look at a surfer girl who cares so little about really what she looks like, she has no makeup and her hair's going every which way. She's so beautiful. And that can be for women of any age. It's just this like elixir or whatever that is very powerful. So that's one movie. That's probably one of my favorite. And then, of course, there's Endless Summer, I think, is a great old classic about just the reckless abandon of traveling and going to different surf breaks, the free spirit of it all.
And, of course, Point Break.
Oh, yeah.
Which combines a bank heist with surfing, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. But you only don't watch Jaws.
No.
Oh God, no.
No, don't. And it's funny, the thing about sharks, that's one of the, like, going back to some of the questions people ask. A lot of people ask if there's sharks. And I say, well, no, there's no sharks that have been sighted in the area where we surf. But of course, there's sharks in the ocean. And knowing that, it's really interesting because I'm not really afraid of sharks. But if I feel something touch my foot, when my little foot is dangling in the water, I silently scream. It's like, I don't know why. If something touches me in the water, I always feel, I feel the worst is about to happen, but it's not.
I think that's really normal. And like, I just did a triathlon this weekend and I was talking about it with a few people and we're like, yeah, I mean, we know there are not lake zombies. And I mean, it was in a lake. It was fine. But it's still, there's still just this moment of like, oh my God, what was it? Like, is it, and it's Florida. I guess it could be an alligator, but it's
probably
it's not
a plastic bag. It's probably just a plastic bag or an ice cream wrapper or something. Yeah, I know.
Garbage. So what's coming up next for you and for Las Olas? If we've got readers or listeners who are totally into this and love this and they want to keep up with what's going on, what should they know?
Well, what they should know in terms of what's coming up. Well, I'm leaving on Monday to begin our 22nd season. So with that, we've changed a lot of little things in the program. I tend to I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to that, and I have a fierce sense of a feminine aesthetic. So, part of my job is to make this experience look and feel absolutely luxurious and beautiful. And I really get a lot out of that experience, tuning the little things, because I think women notice it and appreciate it. And I'm excited. Our crew, gosh, some of the girls on our team, one of them's been with us 8 years, and many of them been 3 or 4 years. They're career coaches. So nurturing the relationships that I have with these people who really, in my opinion, make this whole thing run. And our operations manager, that's my husband. We work as a team, and we've been working together for over 30 years. We started a snowboard company together. So it's interesting. I don't know how we do it, but we do it. So yeah, it's just, fine tuning it. That really is what's coming up next. Every year I try to do something a little different, a little better, and make it, this year is, I think, going to be even more of a challenge, and the experience is going to be needed even more, because like I said before, it's been a wild ride for women in the last year. And I think I consider myself lucky because I'm in very important work today. I know why I get up in the morning,
For sure.
Yeah. So where can people find you on the web and on social media?
Well, on the website, if you Google Women's Surf Camp, you should see Las Olas. So Google Women's Surf Camp, you should see Las Olas. It's www.surflasolas.com or www.lasolas.surf. We have 2 different URLs. So you can find us on the internet. You can also find us on Instagram. It's at Las Olas Surf, and I recommend you check that out, because you'll see I have such a great time rearranging these absolutely stunning photos of such beautiful women. And those women are all our guests that are featured on the Instagram page. So that's how you can find us. And Google Women's Surf Camp, and you'll find Las Olas Surfing for Women. And
we just have one more question for you.
Okay.
This is what we ask everybody that appears on the show.
Okay.
Here we go.
This is going to be a fun one, I can tell.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
So what was the last song you listened to before you did this podcast interview?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to. Justin Timberlake.
Oh.
Good one.
Any particular song?
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it. I'll get my suit and tie. So gonna show you a good time. Yeah, that one. Yeah,
you sang it, which is even better.
Yeah.
Yes, and I can dance to it too.
Ooh, I believe that. 100% believe
that. Thank you so much for appearing.
That was the last song. It was so much fun. Thank you.
Love this show? Tell us why in a 5-star review on iTunes, and we'll read it on the air. Also, make sure you are a subscriber. If you want to reach out to say hi or have a question about a recent episode, yay, well, feel free to email us at podcast@fitbottomgirls.com. And if this podcast jives perfectly with your brand, consider sponsoring the show. Get more info by emailing advertising@fitbottomgirls.com. Find all kinds of Fit Bottom goodness online and on social media at Fit Bottom Girls, Fit Bottom Mamas, Fit Bottom Eats, and Fit Bottom Zen. And if books and movies are your thing, check out the other podcast I co-host called Book versus Movie, which you can find anywhere where you search for podcasts. Thanks for listening.